Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events shaping our world. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. In a rapidly escalating conflict, oil prices have surged to over $112 per barrel as Iran expands its strikes on Gulf energy sites. The situation is dire, with multiple countries in the region reporting damage to their energy infrastructure. Iran's retaliation for earlier strikes on its South Pars gas field has led to a coordinated attack on energy facilities across the Middle East, including Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, and Bahrain. The impact of these attacks is being felt globally, with shipping through the Strait of Hormuz under threat. The UK's Maritime Security Agency has reported that a vessel east of the strait caught fire after being struck by an unknown projectile. The US is considering deploying additional military assets to the region to secure shipping lanes. The human cost of this conflict is also mounting, with over 1,300 people killed in Iran and more than 1 million displaced in Lebanon. Israel has reported 15 deaths from Iranian missile fire, while at least 13 US military members have been killed. As the situation continues to unfold, one thing is clear: the world is watching with bated breath. The conflict has significant implications for global energy markets and the economy as a whole. With no sign of de-escalation in sight, it's likely that oil prices will continue to rise, putting pressure on already strained global supplies. We'll be keeping a close eye on this developing story and bringing you updates as more information becomes available. For now, it's clear that the situation in the Middle East is increasingly volatile, and the consequences of this conflict will be felt far beyond the region. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're diving into the complex world of international diplomacy, where relationships between nations can shift like sand in the desert. Today, we're focusing on the recent summit between Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi and US President Donald Trump. This meeting was crucial for Japan, as it sought reassurances from the US on several key issues, including trade and regional security. The backdrop to this summit is the escalating Iran war, which has created a geopolitical storm that's affecting nations worldwide. For Japan, the stakes are high, particularly given its significant economic interests in the region. Prime Minister Takaichi was looking to navigate these treacherous waters by strengthening ties with the US and securing commitments on trade and security. One of the notable aspects of this summit was the personal connection between Takaichi and Trump. Observers suggest that Takaichi's election success has impressed Trump, who values political savvy and strength. This personal rapport could be a significant asset for Japan in its dealings with the US, allowing it to influence American policy on issues critical to Japanese interests. However, not all analysts are convinced that this summit was an unqualified success for Japan. Some argue that while it avoided being a disaster, it didn't necessarily cement Japan's status as a special ally. The US has a reputation for being unpredictable in its diplomatic dealings, and Japan will need to remain vigilant to protect its interests. Despite these challenges, the two nations did announce several significant economic agreements, including a $40 billion project to build nuclear reactors in Tennessee and Alabama, and a $33 billion investment in natural gas power generation facilities in Pennsylvania and Texas. These investments are part of a broader agreement in which Japan has pledged to invest $550 billion in the US by 2025. As we consider the implications of the summit, it's clear that the relationship between Japan and the US remains complex and multifaceted. While there are opportunities for cooperation and mutual benefit, there are also challenges and uncertainties that both nations must navigate. Welcome back to Concrete Block. As we wrap up today's show, let's dive into a pressing international issue that's been making headlines lately. The United States' involvement in a war with Iran has sparked intense debate and raised many questions about the country's foreign policy goals. To understand the situation, it's essential to look at the historical context of US-Iran relations. For decades, the two nations have had a complex and often adversarial relationship, with periods of heightened tension and conflict. The current war is a significant escalation of this long-standing animosity. President Trump has stated that the goal of the war is to bring about regime change in Iran, an objective that has been met with skepticism by many experts. They argue that attempting to overthrow a government through external military force is unlikely to succeed and may lead to unintended consequences, such as more hardline leadership, civil strife, and regional instability. The war has already resulted in significant humanitarian costs, with reports of civilian casualties and displacement. The international community has also expressed concern about the potential for the conflict to spread beyond Iran's borders and disrupt global oil supplies. As the situation continues to unfold, it's crucial to consider the potential outcomes and the implications for U.S. foreign policy. Will the war achieve its intended goals, or will it lead to further instability and conflict? How will the international community respond to the crisis, and what role will other nations play in shaping the outcome? These are just a few of the questions that we'll be following closely in the coming days and weeks. As always, we strive to provide balanced and informative coverage of the issues that matter most. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.